What is going on, everyone? We are here with another episode of the Spotlight series hosted by yours truly, ACK. You all know the drill at this point. We've been doing this for almost well over 2 years now, since the pandemic hit back in 2020. My first artist that I ever had was Joe Mayo, super talented rapper from down in Houston. And it just, when he came on the show, it just really gave me a fire inside to really just pursue this more. And then I had another great rapper on, Isaac Mather, and then it just led to country artists coming on, pop artists coming on, R&B artists. And it's crazy how much this whole platform has changed. So I'm super excited to have another talented artist on here. Had the pleasure of talking with him a few weeks ago, just kind of setting up this interview and everything. And can't wait for you guys to hear his song later on because I've been listening to it on repeat for weeks now. I got Tariq here. Tariq, what's going on, man? How are you?
What up, my brother? Thank you for having me, dude.
No, of course, man. Like I said, it's truly a blessing to just have people take time out of their day to just sit here and talk about their story through music, because that's what this whole platform for me, that's what this is about, is it's about giving back to these other artists and helping them create a bigger platform for themselves and getting more exposure. And at the end of the day, yes, it does get me more exposure too, but I'm really here just to hear everyone's story through music, because I know I have my story and I know people have their stories. So it's just always
All right.
cool to hear all that stuff in their background and how
Yeah,
they kind of came up in the music business. So it's always a pleasure to have people on, and it's a pleasure to have you here today.
for sure. I'm happy to be here. It's cool that you have, such a different, like a diverse, interview list, that you don't stay honed in on one space. That's like really cool to be able to be making one certain type of music, but that maybe, you tune into other stuff, but you're still like, this is good and I want to have it come up, that's awesome.
Exactly. No, exactly. Because I mean, I don't like to obviously I run this whole show so I can talk badly on here, but I don't like to shit talk
Right,
anyone. But
right,
um
right, right.
everyone always comes on, they're like, I'm allowed to say, like, I'm allowed to speak freely, right? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. That's totally fine. Um,
Right.
but I don't like to shit talk any other podcasts or anything like that, but sometimes people just have their own set mind. And like some people just have like a rap podcast that talk about all kinds of rap music. And then some people have country podcasts where they just talk about country music. But for me, yeah, I was raised on country music. That's what I was born and raised on. And that's really what I have a passion for. But at the end of the day, I love all kinds of music. And over the years, with songwriting and producing and stuff like that, it's just really helped me grow and learn more about these other genres. And just like I said, like, I mean, it doesn't matter, I could put a playlist on and you would hear all kinds of things on there. It doesn't matter, we could go
Right,
from rap, rock, pop, R&B, listen to some
right,
stuff from the
right,
80s, from the 90s, all
right,
kinds of
right,
stuff on there. So it's always cool. And that's like, I'm just big on not boxing myself into one genre and not boxing myself into one thing, because it just opens so many other doors if you keep those doors open.
for
um
sure,
you can just go through so many other doors, and it's crazy. So that's why I love doing this, and that's why I love having different artists on here.
for sure, man.
Yeah. So kind of getting into the first question, we'll pop right into them. Everyone knows I start with the basic of basics. It's, how did music start for you? It always sounds cliche to ask that question, but everyone has their own upcoming and how they came into music. For me, for example, in 2018 is really when I started songwriting and producing and putting myself out there as a songwriter and producer. So I know for me that's only been 4 or 5 years now, but then some people come out of the womb singing, and it's crazy
Yeah, yeah,
because they've
yeah,
been
yeah.
singing since day one, and then they've been getting vocal lessons and stuff like that. And so where did like singing and just where did songwriting and all that kind of come about for you?
Yeah, it's I would say that like you just said, man, some people just been like making music their whole life or had musical influence in their house or parents made music or something. And you know, uh I was born in 91, bro. So like we're technically the golden era of
Yep.
rap, when ciphers really were like a huge thing. So I mean, I think we were always, me and my peers growing up, always standing around rapping, even if it was, I remember I used to take a pen and write down all of, like, listen to Big L,
Mhm.
listen to him, and then rewrite it so that I could go around and rap his raps, even if they weren't mine. We just like to rap with each other, you know. And it was like whoever could recite it the cleanest or whatever, you know. So we were like, I've always been into music, but I'd say that making music and actually writing didn't come about until probably around 2014, 2015. Again, like there's videos, I'm sure, man, of us at college parties when we were younger, just rapping, battle rapping and stuff. Back on like Big Brick before iPhones, like, you know, probably some Nokia phones with a camera or something, you know. And I think there was a couple times, like maybe 2 or 3 times, we tried to build a studio when I was like 15 or 16. But, you know, that process of making music, we were just into the craft of it, you know what I mean? The actual process of curating a song, writing something, that wasn't really we weren't really informed of that, I guess. But in 2000 and probably like, yeah, 2014, um I actually really started making music because, like, really actually writing music with intention, because I realized that my brothers don't listen. Like, they'll I got in trouble when I was younger,
Mhm.
and so I was trying to talk to my little brothers and some of the homies, like, yo, we got to start doing some stuff different. Like, you know, we can't keep getting in trouble. We got to read, we got to exercise, we got to do this. And when I was talking, they wouldn't really listen to me. They'd whatever.
Yeah.
But if I was rapping and I was like, yo, I came through and this and that, all of a sudden everybody was tuned in.
Yeah.
And um I've been reading, I'm like big on spiritual or not necessarily religion, but I've read the Bible a couple times, the
Yep.
Torah.
Mhm.
I've read the Quran. Now I just finished it my fifth time this year. Um, and the Quran is actually, if you listen to Islamic prayer and stuff, it
Mhm.
sounds like song, Alhamdulillah, because it is. It was actually, the Quran was originally just a long poem. And the reason they wrote it like that was because, uh, you know, it was easier to memorize. Um, and it was easier to get people to remember the verses and the things that are involved in it. The Quran actually in the beginning was never even written; it was just recited. And so they're technically hypnotizing people. Realistically, if you think about it and you look at Islamic culture and how strict it is, it's because it's ingrained in their core,
Right.
like, thinking, you know. And I'm listening to Kendrick Lamar in like 2013, I think, or something, or whenever swimming pools, or was it swimming pools? Nah, it was on the Section 80 album. And he had a song, and it was like a party song, but it was like, you don't got to get drunk to have fun. You don't got to get drunk to have fun.
Yeah.
And we're all drinking, listening to it.
Mhm.
And there was a moment where I was like, wait a second. And I'm listening to what he's saying. And I realized this, if you start sneaking this information into the music, it's easier to communicate to some people who aren't
Exactly.
going to sit down and read a book, who aren't going to go to a seminar, who don't have father figures or older brothers to teach them whatever.
Yeah.
And hey, go lay down. Sorry, the dogs are starting to get excited. Um, so, you know, I realized, like, my little bro and the homies, they don't really listen to me. So I'm like, let me just put it in rap, because they do listen when I rap. I'm good at rapping.
Right.
And so I started writing, man, and writing with intention. And it wasn't really songs. It was like 100 bars at a time, you
Yeah.
know, just like writing long ass raps, you know, because you could still get away with that. People still had an attention span that would last a while. Everything wasn't viral yet.
Yeah.
And from there, you know, same like you said, you grew up on country music. I grew up, my mom listening to country music.
Yeah.
I never really was, my mom is Portuguese and Italian, and I
Mhm.
think Irish as well. But she was just always listening to country music, and I never liked it as a kid. But the more you're around something, the more you kind of,
Ex-
it grows on you. You accept it. You might
exactly.
find something you do like in it, because you can no longer just ignore it for its surface,
Right.
like things that you don't like. So I started identifying with it, and then I remember when I was in trouble, I was sitting in a little youth center or something, or in a jail, and I wrote a little country song for my mom. She's still pressing me to record it this day, you know? And again, just the same thing. It was a way for me to communicate, you know, what I was saying and her actually feel what I'm saying. And, you know, so from there, man, yeah. And I just been like, after that, just writing these, like a lot of just raps, and then realize, okay, let me write some songs. And then, um, you know, just writing in general, I try to write every morning, even if it's not music, you
Mhm.
know.
Right.
But that's really like probably the like how it began, and it's changed as we go, you know. Naturally things grow and change, but that was like the core reason. I was already rapping. I was just rapping about a bunch of nonsense, you know,
Yeah.
like whatever I thought I was supposed to rap about, which was BS, like it was bullshit, you know.
Yeah.
um but yeah, that's pretty much how the process got started for me. And then, like I said, it's just changed and grown a lot. I like making music, and being an entertainer is cool, but I really just like creating the music more than anything else.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, just like I said, it's always a fantastic question to ask because it's so different for every artist when they come up and stuff like that. Like we were saying, like whether it was at an early age or whether it was just a few years ago. And it's just everyone's craft is always developing and growing and stuff like that. I mean, because like I said, I know when I started writing and stuff in 2018, and like country music was just such a big inspiration for me. And like I loved all type of music still then, but country music was just there, and I said, okay, like I want to be a country songwriter because if I start singing, I can't sing, glass will start breaking
Right,
and all kinds of
right,
stuff.
right, right.
But no, when I started, I was just like, it was country music, and I was like, that's what I want to do, like that's what I am, that's who I am. But then eventually I started writing other things, and I started talking with different artists from different genres, and that's when Joe Mayo came on the show. And he just really lit a fire under me to just open these other doors for other artists too, because I'm like, at the end of the day, it's just I have so many inspirations. And as much as I love country, Chris Daughtry, who's a rock artist, he's one of my favorite artists of all time. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
and it's crazy because it helps you really grow if you open these doors and expand more on your, like, kind of just like a food, like when you're like a palate, like when you're eating food and stuff like that, trying different things. And if you just take the chance to listen to some of this other music, it really inspires you and really just connects with a lot with me. And it's cool to have that option to have so many different genres of music to
yeah.
listen to.
You get something that you might not have gotten from the little bubble that you've been stuck in, you know.
Exactly.
Which is again why, like I said, writing for me, I know that my little brother, you know, isn't reading right now. I'm reading The Psychology of Self-Esteem. I know my little brother's not reading that, but there's some really valuable information in this book.
Right.
How do I get the book from this information and translate it into a language that my little brother is going to be able to interpret and understand, you know?
Right.
um, Even this conversation that we have now, I'm sure maybe you did, I don't know, but you probably didn't know that the Quran was initially just a poem. You
Yeah,
know,
I
it
honestly
wasn't
had no idea. That's a fun fact for me.
actually a religious book that, you know,
Yeah.
it turned into writing later on. So, you know, you get to, again, like you said, that was a perfect metaphor, like extending your palate and
Yeah.
eating. I've done that a lot this year being out here in Oklahoma. Like I've eaten so much different types of food that I wouldn't even try back home, you know.
Exactly.
And now I learned, okay, I actually do like things that I should have been eating up there, like lobster and shrimp. Like, you know, I don't know why I'm eating it out here in Oklahoma because Maine lobster is the jam, you know. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, man, it's definitely cool to, like I said, man, just continue to expand. And
No, absolutely. And I don't think I said it at the beginning of the interview when I was doing my little intro, but it's cool to always kind of have interviews like this too, because you're originally from New Hampshire. And obviously, a lot of people know that I'm from Boston and stuff. So it's kind of cool
mhm.
to have that local connection. But obviously, now
Yeah, yeah, hell
you're
yeah,
down in Oklahoma City now, but like
yeah,
still,
yeah.
we're repping the East up here. So
East
it's
Coast, yeah, I'll be there in a couple of weeks, man. I always come home.
no, absolutely. You always got to come back to the roots and stuff like that. And when I was just talking a little while ago, I kind of mentioned a key word, which is inspiration. And that's kind of getting into the next question that I want to ask you is, obviously, with your music and with your songwriting and stuff like that, who do you really kind of look up to in the music business? Like, who are some of your inspirations that you look up to?
Man, that's kind of like I feel like I had an answer for a long time, you
Mm.
know, when I was younger. As I've gotten older, and the music situation has changed because people are a lot more accessible now. You know, before, I think when we were younger and superstars were just, there was only a few that we had to look to, and but now there can be, you know, somebody who's doing really well, or who's quote unquote, you call them, you know, famous or whatever, but they're not like a billboard artist, but their music is like streaming in a lot of places, and there's just so much more access, man. And I can't say like inspiration wise, oh man, I can't be I honestly, man, you know, I could say that there's like a collective type of mindset, I think, that inspires me. I don't know if any individual, and it changes as we go. You know, again, Section 80. That was at that time I was listening to Kendrick Lamar when I was younger, but I honestly haven't really listened to his music since then.
Yeah.
J. Cole was a really big, you know, artist that I appreciated
Mm.
for a while. But then, you know, there's a lot of these guys that are like, I don't, you could call them underground artists, or maybe
Yeah.
not mainstream artists, but like this guy, Amir Obey,
Mhm.
his sounds are crazy. The way he like makes music. This dude, Gashi, he's pretty, you know, he's a Lebanese kid, I think, from New York. But he's same thing. It's like rap slash pop. Like, you
Yeah.
know, there he's really creating a sound that he's relying less on like the content and more on the sonics, you know, like the sounds. And it's really cool. His visuals are really cool. Um, and then it's just go way left. I found this artist a couple weeks ago. His name is Ka, and he's the guy from Brooklyn. And his music is hardly, I wouldn't say it's not music, but it's really like literature. Like his writing, if you took away the beat, you know, it's really not like a beat. There's not a lot of instruments. It's usually just a drum pattern behind them, and it's
Yeah.
just, you know. But the information again is really cool. And he's saying some things that are like, I've been listening to his music like a podcast, you know, just
Right. Yeah.
digesting it.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, the inspiration is constantly changing. I wish I had like I could say like, you know, Jay-Z, you know, or Kanye West or Drake, you know. I would say, you know, these guys are people that I think that their impact is inspirational.
Mhm.
Um, but as far as like a day to day, I don't play any of those. I wouldn't listen to those like on a day to day. I don't relate to them. I don't honestly. I don't really necessarily even aspire to have the same things. Some of the things are cool, like, you know, hey, these dogs, go lay down. Um, Once I get up and start talking and moving, they're like, you know, oh, we're awake, we're doing stuff. Um, you know, yeah, I wish, man, that it was easier to answer. That's probably harder than any other question, just because the inspiration does change too. I'm getting older. You know, I don't really value. There was a while, maybe in my like 25, where it was like, oh yeah, you know, 5 girls and a nice car is like
Yeah.
the best that you could have. You know,
Right.
and it's like, oh, you know, actually maybe having a solid wife would be cool, because if you wanted to start a family, you know, it'd be hard to do with 6 different girls or
Yeah.
whatever, you know. And so yeah, I don't know. I would say mostly more it's inspired by a genre than a single individual, you know.
No, absolutely. And I mean, that just honestly, that's one of the better answers that I've had for this question, because I feel like when I ask it and when I say that, people always feel like they have to list the big name artists, and
Yeah,
they
yeah,
always just
yeah.
feel like they have to list like songwriters and stuff like that. But at the same time, like just the answer that you gave with like you, I know you did mention some artists, but just the creativity that artists have and stuff like that that inspires you. It's a different, unique twist on that question. Hopefully that kind of sets the tone for future interviews that I have that kind of just expand more on the question like that. So that's definitely one of my more favorite answers for sure.
Yeah, you know what? I will say though, I do think it is important for me to say there is a it could be a homegrown thing and a bias thing, but
Mhm.
I have to say like Joyner is obvious. Like he has to be.
Yeah.
I have to put him as an inspiration, even though I'll be honest with you, same thing. I haven't played his music in a while, but being from the area, the people that film his videos, went to the same high school as me. I just participated in one of their videos last year,
Mhm.
and got to like be in the on set with them and stuff. And I think with him is more the grind. Actually my first album, the first album that I put out, I recorded it with the same engineer as Joyner at the time.
Mhm.
And I remember trying to get into the studio, and the engineer would be like, I can't do it, man. Joyner won't leave. Or like, I can't do it. I got to mix this for Joyner. And I remember being mad at the time at homie at Joyner. And then as I started working more, I'm like, he was just securing his future. I get to see where he's at now. And I'm like, shoot, if I was bogarting people out of the studio, you know what I mean? Like, I might have been. So I think, his application and the way that, he's been able to keep his trajectory on the up and staying true to himself to a degree. Obviously, again, we change. And as your influence changes, I think that as your influence like towards the world changes, I think that changes also the way that the world influences you. And he's definitely, changed that a lot. But again, still like super inspired by the way he's been able to maneuver. Again, that might be a hometown thing, like New England, knowing he recorded in this little fucking place in Milford, New Hampshire, you know
Yep.
what I mean? And I was there. It's like that alone is like, yeah, man, it's inspiring for
No,
sure.
absolutely. And so kind of just going to jump into the next question because when I first asked you that question about the inspirations, you said that might be one of the hardest questions that I've asked. And
Yeah,
normally this next question is usually always the hardest question
yeah.
when it comes to the whole interview process. And like I said, the word interview always sounds scary, but um I always tell artists that this question it's definitely the hardest one because some people have an answer for it, but then some people don't have an exact answer for it yet because they're still trying to create their craft and they're not sure where they want to go with their music and stuff. So obviously with all these platforms out there and people pumping out music and stuff, there's so many artists out there just trying to make a name for themselves. So my question is to you is what makes you you compared to all these different artists? What can we take away from your music that like no one else has and we can just distinguish who you are as an artist?
Um, I guess I would just say my life in perspective, I would say, because that's where I write from. I don't really write from like uh um again, that whole influence thing. Like um I'm not gonna write about like something that I don't like or appreciate or don't participate in. I'm not gonna write about things that I don't think are valid or don't support. Um, I don't really like even listening to artists a lot that uh, again, it's kind of difficult because you don't want to stay like we talked about pigeonholed in your own psyche and your own thing. But like,
Yeah.
you know, I'm not gonna make music about I've actually been in trouble and actually been in prison. I'm not going to make music about things that are going to influence maybe my little brother to be in prison or make choices that can land him
Right.
there. I listen to a lot of this stuff and it's so ignorant, and a lot of it people haven't hit that side of the life, hit that side of life. So it's easier to talk about things when you haven't really had to experience the consequences of them or had to experience the burn of some of those things. Like again, even just talking about like, oh, having sex with so many chicks, but then if you don't have no children and that's a product of that, you might change the way that, or I'm having sex with all these girls, but you don't have no daughter, but then
Exactly.
your daughter comes of age and you might change the way that you view women
Mhm.
um, and stuff like that. So I would say again, just maybe I don't want to say it's such a unique perspective because I know there's a lot of people who will identify with it. If there wasn't, then we wouldn't be here. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Exactly.
If my perspective and the way that I created didn't tap in with some people, then you would have never reached out. But there's something about what I'm doing that made you say, hey, let me hit up homie. And, I think probably that coming from again like a just a background that is being from New Hampshire right? Nashville, but so close to Boston, like,
Yeah,
that dynamic of like being one foot in the like in the mix of a lot of stuff and one foot in the mix of a bunch of nothing, you know
yeah,
what I mean? Like you kind of have this little opportunity. And I'm from, again, Nashville, New Hampshire. So we're pretty much, I can walk into Lowell, Massachusetts,
exactly.
um, where things drastically change,
Yeah.
and a lot of that trickled into where I grew up, and then there's a lot of people that were coming from New York and these types of things. So, was really exposed to a lot of different type of mentalities, a lot of different influences, cultures, and stuff like that. So, I think probably, yeah, the one thing would just be my perspective, because that's what I write from. And there will be other artists who identify with it, other artists who appreciate it, but it's not replicated or fabricated from, oh, this is trending, so this is what I gotta, tap into. And like I said, I know there's plenty of artists who are being true to self and
Yeah.
not relying on. I'm writing something right now that's about that, about being able to operate without the. A lot of people are going to look at this number on the bottom of the view count, and base that on whether someone is actually succeeding or not. But the fact that I enjoyed what I made and got to have a conversation with someone about it after, who tapped in, like, to me, my overhead is low. I pay for the everything that I do. My life is stable. I'm not struggling to make music. I'm happily making music. I'm
Exactly.
succeeding. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, I would probably say that more than anything, just me, again, like I said, being true to my unique perspective. I
Exactly.
think
No, and
so.
no, and that's awesome, man. Just because I know if anyone ever asked me this question, I'm not even sure if I could fully answer it properly either. So I always tell
Right,
people
right,
that it's just like
right.
because I'm still trying to figure out who I am. Yes, I am a song. I know I am a songwriter. I know I am a producer, and I know I have this interview series. And I think this interview series is really shaping into the person that I want to be. It's really helping me, and I just think that it's always cool to ask that question because there's so many different answers that I get from this question. And that's why it's always one of my favorites to ask.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
yeah. So kind of getting into looking into your future and stuff like that. Obviously, you're a tattoo artist too. We haven't talked about that yet. And I think that's going to
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
tie into this question because we were talking a little bit about this before the interview. Um, is what your goals are as an artist. Where do you want to go with your music? Obviously, you said you're writing some stuff. So obviously we're gonna get some new music soon, eventually, hopefully, because I'm definitely
yeah.
huge fan of the stuff that you have out now, and I can't wait to listen to For Forever in a few minutes. But so what are like your short-term, long-term goals and just what else can we expect down the road from you?
Yeah. So that probably also ties into the last question you asked too. I think being a tattooer and having like an art background, I spend all day making art, I don't have to like go work at Home Depot and then come home and rap about being mad at Home Depot.
Yeah,
I actually love what I do. Every single portion of my life, I love what I do. And it's all art based. Everything is made from just creating art. I make all of my music while I'm drawing or designing tattoos. I got my mic here. I sit here and design.
yeah,
I'm in the transition to moving right now. So I have this little studio situation set up right here. So I just
yeah,
record while I'm drawing and stuff. But really the goal, I think, for me, I have never had. So I'm carving it out now because in the past I never really had no goal to like, I want to be a mainstream artist. I want to blow up. I want to do this. I want to get a record deal. I really just wanted to make music. And whatever came from that was awesome, But I really just, I wanted to make music that I could appreciate, that my homies could appreciate, and that sounded good. And this has kind of all been a process of figuring that out. And I think now I finally spent a few years, because I didn't start the recording process until probably 2016. That was the first time I recorded a song. It sounded like trash. I actually went to the studio and didn't know what I was doing. I paid a bunch of money to go to a studio in Boston
mhm,
and like recorded and then thought I was done. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna go get some food to the engineer and I'll be back. And I booked like 3 hours. I'm like, I'll be back in 3 hours. And he's like, in hindsight, he's looking at me like, wait, you don't want to be here for the mixing process? But at the same time, he's just like, all right, cool, bounce. Like,
Yeah.
And I just left and then came back and he's like, yeah, it's all done. And he probably kicked his feet up and probably put like a reverb and a echo. And then like, that was that. And then I paid him all this money. And when I came back, I was like, oh yeah, damn, that sounds crazy. Cause I've never heard myself before, you know?
Exactly.
So it's definitely been like a process of just figuring out how to make the best music that I could. And I think this year now I have locked in on like some very specific goals. I at least, you know, I'm always gonna make music because the creative process is something that's like healthy for my core. Like I have to do that. I have thousands of songs that don't get put out, you
Right.
know. I just make it and then I send it to my boy and then he's like, yo, that's dope. And then I'm like, all right, cool. I don't even need to put it out then. Like I
Yeah.
like it, my dudes like it, you know. But I think this year, um, short term, you know, is to put I'm working on two separate projects right now.
Okay.
Uh, I keep doing these like 5 song EPs
Yeah.
because you know I'll do the singles and like you know, but for some reason I just really like projects,
Yeah.
and so I got two 5 song EPs that I'm like this close to finishing, and then I really want to spend this year figuring out more about marketing, networking, distribution because I'm making the music, but I'm not tapping into, like I said, this was like a cool like opportunity because these are things that I'm not doing, you know.
Exactly.
I'm not engaging with people talking about process. I'm not um like it took us to the last question to talk about tattooing. When
Yeah.
I'm doing tattoos and I'm tattooing people, I'm not in their face like, hey, I make music, you know, and I should be if I care about it, if I want them to listen to it, you
Right.
know, if I actually have a goal for it. If I don't have no goal for it, then of course I'm all tattooing and I'm shy about it. They always tell me in the shop, like, yo, how come you don't play your music? We play everybody else, but we don't play your music. And it's I never like to listen to myself around people, you know, because I'm critiquing it and I feel like
Exactly.
they're doing the same. And if anybody says, man, change this, what the fuck is this? I'm gonna be mad or whatever, you know, like so, you know, I think short term and long term, that's been now the goal is to figure out, you know, just continue to grow with it and get better at, you know, whatever process I feel like I'm lacking in. And I can definitely say that the on this my Instagram, I only have, you know, maybe like a little over 1,000 followers, and I think 900 of them came in one day,
Yeah.
um, because I did this challenge. Like I did a rap challenge,
Yeah.
and I don't know if you know Locksmith, this dude Locksmith.
Yeah.
I participated in it and the shit went crazy on his page. You
Hmm.
know, it was like a bunch of people that participated got 1,000, 2,000. I think in the first day, my video was at like 14,000.
Yeah.
And so people just started coming over from Locksmith's page.
Yeah.
And then I just never did it again. I maybe post on the music page once every 3 or 4 months, you
Yeah.
know? So just getting better about that, actually having a care for it. And I think the short term and long term, again, like I said, is actually establishing a situation that it becomes kind of like its own vehicle.
Yeah.
I've been able to do that with tattooing. And the goal has always been like, okay, work a job, let the job pay my bills, and don't worry about making money from tattoos because I just want to get good at tattooing. Got good at tattooing, could quit my job. Now my tattooing pays my bills and I can work on music without worrying about making money, just work on making good music,
Right.
right? Until eventually now I can make money from music. And then both of these two trades that I love are, you know, supporting each other. My tattoos pay for my studio time. My studio time and what I make in the studio is actually going to pay for whatever, you know? So I think that's probably, like I said, just short term and long term, just creating something to where it can become its own vehicle to, like I said, just kind of, I don't want to say distribute itself, but actually have I can't just keep putting out songs with no plan. There's, like you just said, there's too many artists out there now.
Exactly.
You'll get drowned out and lost in the shuffle. People hear you today and they love you today and they will forget you tomorrow because there's 300 million songs coming out tomorrow.
No, exactly. And no, I just that's just so true. I mean, just because there's so many, I never really even thought about even actually ever saying stuff like that, just because, yeah, I mean, they could listen to you today and love you today, but then they just forget about you the minute they wake up tomorrow. So I mean, that's just always a crazy perspective to look at too. And like I said, man, like I love the music that you're doing for forever. Like I will have that on repeat for years and years to come for sure. And
Yeah,
obviously
man.
with the new music coming out, I can't wait to hear some of that stuff. I'm super excited. And like I said, I'm definitely a fan. I know once people see this interview and they see that your passion for music and what you want to do with your music and stuff, I know that they'll be attached to you and they'll be on the journey with you for years to come.
For sure. I look forward to it, bro.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So kind of always getting into the best part of the interview, which is the end. Well, it's not the end's not the good part, but listening to the music,
Right, right,
listening to
right,
the
right.
music is a good part. I've had a blast talking to you today, man. But getting into the music and hearing something that you have out and that you've worked on. Kind of before we listen to this song, if you want to just give us a little insight on how this whole song kind of came about, just so we can get a little background info on it.
So I made that song here in Oklahoma City. And if you listen to the lyrics, it kind of communicates that. I left the East Coast. COVID was shutting us down real bad. So I had an opportunity out here in Oklahoma, and I just said, whatever, I'll take a chance and go figure it out. And Oklahoma is a pretty conservative but free place. The
Yeah.
rules are, a little different. And so, yeah, I was just out here in Oklahoma City and things were going well. And I kind of last year I was doing this Sunday service thing where every Sunday I was posting a new verse, like a new rap. And I stopped the Sunday service when I got here, like maybe 2 weeks after I got to Oklahoma City, because I needed to focus on getting clientele out here for tattooing.
Yeah.
And so I chilled out for a few months, didn't put out no verses, no music. And then somebody sent me a pack of beats, and that's how the song starts. I'm back and I'm better than ever. In fact, I ain't never been better. The patent's still pending the way I envision it. I'm gonna keep stacking these ends for forever. And that's really where it came from. And then even again, the next part, I got some goals that I know that I'm gonna go after no matter to any endeavor. In the song, it's I came here with nothing, and even though I might go away for a few, I'll keep working on these things and I'll keep developing these things. And every time I have like an idea about a reset, when you have to raise your ceiling if you're gonna raise your bottom line. And so I had to, come here and get a new bottom line. And now my bottom line is like, there was a while where I was like, if I don't have $100 in my bank account, I'm gonna die. And then it was like, if I don't have $1,000 in my bank account, I'm gonna die. And then the bottom line continues to grow, and so does the ceiling because of it. And that's kind of where the song came from. And then again, just processing the current situation. I did the bar is like, I just ran up 30K out of state and I ain't do no crime for it. Like I came here and created something for myself in a month, in a month and a half. I mean, I ran like $30,000 in a place I never been before,
Yeah.
And I didn't sell no drugs. I didn't steal nothing. I literally just dove myself into what I love and what I came here for. And that alone, I think, could be inspiring to people if they, are willing to commit, take chances, and believe in themselves, bro.
No, absolutely, man. Like I said, I mean, with your music and just what you're doing and stuff like that, and just hearing more in depth about your story, because yeah, I have followed you and we kind of talked a little bit a couple weeks ago, but now just really hearing your story, man, it's inspirational to me because I see what you're doing and I see what you're trying to do with your tattoos and with your music and stuff like that. And like I said, I mean, this interview series is just so cool and unique because it just makes these connections in the music industry, because in that industry people don't understand how hard it is to really develop and become something greater in the music industry, because like you said, I mean, they'll love you today but then they'll forget you tomorrow if you don't keep working on that craft and you don't keep putting out new music and stuff like that. So like I said, I mean, I love your story and I'm definitely on the ride with you and I just can't wait for more things to come.
And the last thing I'll say too is I think a lot of people don't realize they look at the artists that they're following and the artists that they appreciate, and they just appreciate the artist. They
Exactly.
don't know the machine that is behind that artist,
Exactly.
whether it's a record label, whether it's their home team squad that they grew up with, but there's video guys, there's people networking, there's people marketing, there's people talking in these spaces, booking shows, booking tours, locating merch, vendors, you
Exactly.
know, dude, so many things that a lot of people just look at the artist and they're like, I love you. But, you hear the artist like, appreciate my team and this and that, because they wouldn't get to be them if they didn't have these people behind them. So, again, having these conversations, there's somebody that will see this maybe and be like, I want to tap in with homeboy. I think there's, potential there that we could create something. And then, I have met a few people in the industry that, I haven't been able to mesh with, but just knowing, again, like I said, being in the same studio where Joyner's at, I know he's this close. You know what I'm saying? So like, again, but that whole machine behind them, you just have to be committed. And I think that, that's a huge thing, bro, that independent artists don't have. So people like you who invite artists that, are like, yo, I like what they're doing, but I want to cast a light on this, because they might not have this machine behind them that's promoting in 6 different countries,
Exactly.
So I'm super grateful for you to have me, bro. For I appreciate it.
No, of course, man. And I just appreciate you taking time to do this. So obviously getting into the good part now, obviously you talked a little bit
Yeah,
about this song and how it goes. So like I've been pumped for this. I've been waiting for the end of the interview for this. So we're gonna take a little listen to your song For Forever.
for sure, man. I want to turn it up, bro. Everything that I've been trying to get. Yeah, man. Goals that I'm living by.
I'm gonna stop it right there just because I was saying earlier in
Yeah,
the
yeah,
interview,
yeah, man.
people always give me crap for it, but you know what? I want people to go listen to that song. I want you all to go stream that, check it out because it's a super, super great song and just everything about it, man. I love it, love what you're doing, and I just can't wait for more things to come, like I said.
Sure, bro. I appreciate it. I appreciate you playing it. And there's definitely, hopefully by the end of the month, I'll have at least a new single to push towards the project that will be on the project. And hopefully the project will be out in like 2 months.
No, absolutely, man. And I can't wait for that. Obviously, when that starts coming out, I'll help you promote that, do whatever you need to do just to get that out there and have the people listen to it.
For sure, bro. I appreciate you having me, man.
Yeah, no, honestly, thank you for your time today, man. It just always means a lot for people to take time out of their day to just do this and talk about their story through music and just talk about music in general. It just always means a lot. And obviously, when you're back up here in New Hampshire and Boston and stuff, definitely have to link up at some point.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, I'll be there in like 2.5 weeks and I'll be there for 2 weeks. I'm gonna shoot you a message, see what you're up to, see if we do
No,
lunch or something.
yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, just let me know the dates and stuff, and I'll be sure. I'll definitely make some time. Absolutely, 100%. All
All
right,
right,
so
bro.
yeah,
Thank you so much, man.
nah, of course. So other than that, ladies and gentlemen, that kind of concludes another episode of the Spotlight series hosted by yours truly, ACK. You all know the drill. Every Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern, you can check out a new artist. Never know who it's going to be. Never know what genre it's going to be. And I'll see you all next week. And thanks for tuning in.